To His Coy Mistress by Andrew Marvell. Had we but welled enough in time, this coyness lady were no crime. We would sit down and think which way to walk and pass our long love's day. Thou by the Indian Ganges side shouldst rubies find, I by the tide of Humber would complain. I would love you 10 years before the flood, and you should, if you please, refuse till the conversion of the Jews. My vegetable love should grow vaster than empires and more slow, 100 years should go to praise thine eyes and on thy forehead gaze, 200 to adore each breast, and 30,000 to the rest, an age at least to every part, and the last age should show your heart. For, lady, you deserve the state, nor would I love at lower rate. But at my back I always hear time's winged chariots hurrying near, and yonder all before us lie deserts of vast eternity. Thy beauty shall no more be found, nor in thy marble vaults shall sound my echoing song. Then worms shall try that long-preserved virginity, and your quaint honour turn to dust, and into ashes all my lust. The graves are fine in private place, but none, I think, do there embrace. Now, therefore, while the youthful hue sits on thy skin like morning dew, and while thy willing soul transpires at every pore with instant fires, now let us sport us while we may, and now, like amorous birds of prey, rather at once our time we devour, than languish in his slow chapped power. Let us roll all our strength and all our sweetness up into one ball, and tear our pleasures with rough strife through the iron gates of life. Thus, though we cannot make our son stand still, yet we will make him run. It's first good to note that Andrew Marvell was a metaphysical poet. Metaphysical poets talk about real life and real life situations, and they were particularly prominent in the 1600s. Andrew Marvell was also a legally trained lawyer, so his argument is a very clear argument and also syllogistic, which means a 3-part argument. It is written in iambic tetrameter and is a very fast-moving poem, as you can tell from my reading of it. The topic of the poem is basically he's trying to get this coy mistress to have sex with him. The first part of his argument, which is in the first stanza, is what they would do if they had time. This is evident from the first line, had we but welled enough in time. He's trying to lure her, to entice her, and he does this by saying that she would be able to get rubies in the Indian Ganges, that he would love her 10 years before the flood. This is a reference to the Bible flood, and it sort of gives a like big deal to the love. It sort of makes it a huge deal, and it just makes it much more. It makes it a much more powerful argument. The Indian Ganges, for example, she would have never been able to go there. I mean, she probably didn't go there because I mean, at the time people weren't very keen vacationers, and a lot of people just didn't go anywhere. Humber is in Hull, where Marvell lived. That's just an extra little point. The reference to my vegetable love should grow vaster than empires is a sneaky double entendre. By double entendre, I mean that it has 2 meanings. The first meaning is that it could mean sort of the literal love, and how his love is growing and has grown vaster than empires, like a natural plant. On the other hand, it could be a sexual innuendo for a boner. I'm not messing about here, this is what our teacher said to us, so I mean, since they included this poem, you might as well reference the fact that it could either mean huge love or a huge erection, so that's a nice point to include. Could also say that it's a sentence that's got an enjambment, classic enjambment. The next section is a very juicy and meaty section about time, because he's saying that if he had all the time in the world, he would spend 100 years admiring her eyes, 200 years adoring each breast, so 400 years for the pair of them, and 30,000 years to the rest of her body. And then he says, an age at least to every part, and the last age should show your heart. So he's saying that as people sort of say in the era of stuff, the age of stuff, like the age of the hippies, the era of jazz music, something like that, he's saying that there should be sort of these moments in time dedicated to different sections of her. Now this is very, he is pulling out all the tricks here. He is really powering this argument. He is flattering her and just making her feel good, along with being very humorous and fun. He ends the stanza by saying, "Nor would I love at lower rate." So he's saying that nothing else will do you justice except having these ages dedicated to you. And I mean, age can signify a year or loads and loads of years. So by this he's saying that, I mean, he could just go on forever. The second part of his argument in the second stanza is saying there is no time for this. There just is no time. We don't have the whole world and we don't have the whole time. So this is backed up by the fact that he's saying time's winged chariot is near. This personification of time is a very good thing to mention, as time is being personified as a winged chariot, and it's just going very fast, and it's sort of a reference to Greek legends, that sort of thing. The next part is not very nice, I'm just going to warn you. He's basically saying that if they don't do it now, she will die a virgin, and when she dies a virgin, worms shall try that long-preserved virginity. So it doesn't take a genius to work out the fact that he's saying that worms will take her virginity, which is just a bit disgusting, but this is just another element of his three-part argument. Because he's saying that they have to do it now, or that will happen to you. He's basically sort of just trying to frighten her into having sex. The last part of the argument is the third stanza, which sort of rounds up the whole argument. First he said if they had enough time, he would do everything with her, he would adore her, he would take all the time in the world to just be with her. The second stanza says there just is no time for this, and the third stanza provides a solution for this problem. The last stanza can be summed up as basically carpe diem. This is a Latin phrase that means seize the day. He's using very violent, dynamic verbs to back up his point. He's saying things like tear our pleasures with rough strife. So this is very powerful language, and he's trying to make it seem inevitable that they should have sex, because otherwise, because they must seize the day. Basically, that is the message of this poem. And right at the end he says, "Thus, though we cannot make our sun stand still, yet we will make him run." We know the sun is the centre of our universe, and that the earth goes round the sun, and it's all in reference to time. And so he's saying that although they cannot stop time, they will give it a run for its money and seize the day. And there you go. As always, read the back page for a bit of extra notes. For example, it says here that Marvell's poems are very similar to John Donne's love poems. So you could always just sneak in some of those little things, little phrases, little comments. That's the one. So please comment, and I'll see you for the next poem.